you'll recall that Clenise presented to us just a few weeks ago on the assistant governor position. By the way, Clenise, that was just an incredible presentation. I think it should be a template passed on to the district to be used by assistant governors forever. It was fabulous. Today, it's a new subject, but let me give you a little bit of information about Clenise. Again, she was introduced and some of her bio was presented a few weeks ago. I'm going to mention a few things that perhaps you're not aware of. But within Rotary at the district level, she was the district Interact co-chair, district alumni chair, and the district foundation operations chair, and the associate, and of course now she's the assistant governor. Again, I don't know how she does all that at the district level, but goodness she does. Today, of course, she's going to be talking about her project as a member of the District 7600 delegation selected to attend the Rotary Southland Young Professionals Summit in Atlanta. But as the district alumni chair, she helped to establish the District Alumni Association and then served as the charter president. And I guess she can't turn it over to anybody else because she's still the president. Sorry about that. No, congratulations, super job. And I happened to be at the charter meeting with part of a district conference. It was marvelous. Now her new, and I think it's full-time, although I'm sure you do so much, Clenise, but she's the staff development coordinator for the 300 staff members at the Virginia Beach Public Library. Wow. She's also a licensed insurance agent.
Botanical Gardens Board?
They're all about it.
We got your number, girl.
We'll try to go on. She's also an adjunct professor at Tidewater Community College and the CEO of her own Platinum Group, Global Life and Leadership Development Company. She serves on the Board of Governors and is a membership council chair at the Town Point Club in Norfolk and as treasurer on the board of directors of the Norfolk Botanical Garden. She'll be a co-host for us next week, right? And on it goes, and she's also a member of the Virginia Beach Public Library Board. And she has received a number of honors and awards, including the William and Mary Young Alumni Surface Award, the Inside Business Journal Top 40 Under 40, and Women in Business Achievement Award, and the YWCA's Women of Distinction Award. For all of that, we are blessed to have Clenise as a member of our club, and she's going to do it again for us. Clenise, you're on. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be home, everybody. And I am really excited to share with you all about what my experience was like with the Young Professionals Summit. It's the 2016 Southland Young Professional Summit. And if we can go to the next slide. Basically, I'm going to give you the basic information. I'm going to talk about what the experience was like, and then I'm going to tell you what my top 5 takeaways were from that whole experience. And if we have time at the end, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them. So, excuse me, this was a 2-day event. It happened at Wardlaw Center at the Georgia Tech campus. Rotary covered the cost of all of the appetizers for a reception that they held earlier. Then they had lunch and dinner on Friday and lunch on Saturday. Those 3 meals were also covered, and the program and the venue. So the only thing that we had to do as attendees was to actually show up. So we had to take care of our travel, we had to take care of our lodging and parking if that was necessary, but there was no summit registration fee. Now this is all because of a very generous Renew Rotary grant that was provided by the Rotary's Young Professionals campaign. Rotary is really focused on trying to make sure that they bring together those individuals that are between the ages of 25 and 45 into the family and into the conversation of Rotary. So this was a part of making that happen. Can we just give a hand to my buddy Dave Mansfield? My hands today, thank you, Dave. So one of the what they wanted to do was to bring together, these are their words, not mine, 100 of the most influential young Rotarians from across the country. We met at Georgia Tech, and the focus was on exchanging ideas to improve our clubs as well as our communities. It was a facilitated discussion. Every day we have facilitated discussions, and they use this concept called appreciative inquiry. And one of the things that was very interesting was that there was one woman there. She served as our recorder, and her sole purpose the entire 2 days was to write down everything that she heard, so that they could put it all together at the end and create a report that would go back to Rotary International that we could use as a resource if we wanted to. So the process was to discover what's working now with Rotary, to identify solutions to challenges, and amplify the positive experiences so that more young professionals can actually discover Rotary, and Rotary can continue to evolve and to grow. So how in the world did I get involved with this? So there had been an email that had been circulating. I didn't even really pay that much attention to it. And I happened to be at a district event, and past district governor, he was the district governor at the time, Gary Chenault, came up to me and said, Clenise, you need to apply for this. And I said, I need to apply for this? He said, yes, you need to apply for the Young Professional Summit. And I said, okay, but do I qualify? Yes, you qualify. I said, okay, so, but when is the deadline? It was like tomorrow, but it really wasn't, but it was really close. So I said, all right, well, I'll look into it. And he actually sent me the information. You can go to the next slide. What was interesting about this application process was that, yes, there was an application. The application was online, but the other piece that they had was that you actually had to do a video submission. So you had to create a video talking about why you thought that you would be a great candidate for this particular summit, also highlighting your Rotary skills and your Rotary experience. So the really cool thing about this was that District 7600 gave those who were selected, because it was a selection process, there was actually no cap on the number of people that could apply. The only stipulation was that at the max they were going to accept 5 individuals from each district. That was the only stipulation. But anybody and everybody could apply between the ages of 25 and 45. What was really nice about our district was that they actually also provided a $700 stipend, so that could cover your costs for your travel, for your lodging, and possibly your 700. It was 5, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Absolutely. So this was the delegation. It was me. There's a young lady, Mona Jane. Chris Davidson was the district leader, because when I said the delegation of 5, one of the things that they included was every district had to have a district leader. So that person did not have to go through the application process. It's Chris Davidson, who was actually our district membership chair for the last few years, did not have to go through that process. But he was our district leader. Then there's a young lady, Alexandria Ritchie, who's actually a Rotaractor in Richmond that is also now a member of a Rotary club. Because now with one of the things that they changed is that if you are a member of a Rotaract club, you can automatically become a member of a Rotary club as well.
That second guy from the right doesn't look like he's 45.
You'll see him again too. Joe McCarran, who is actually a Rotary International director and obviously a member, well beloved of our club. But I'm telling you, I'm sorry he's not here today because I was going to rip him a little bit. He was a YP celebrity. I mean, everywhere he went, people were like, "Can I get your autograph?" Not really, but can I get your picture? They really did want his picture. And then Raghavan was the other individual that participated. So honestly, I was the only one from Southampton Roads. The others really came from the Richmond area. Chris was from Newport News. So I love this quote. Paul Harris says, "This is a changing world. We must be prepared to change with it. The story of Rotary will have to be written again and again. And I think one of the reasons why this concept of bringing young professionals together to actually begin to think about how they can be strategic and deliberate in their interaction with Rotary is us writing that story again. And I think that's a very important part of what this process was about. So the experience, what was it like? So I arrived that Thursday evening. We stayed at the Georgia Tech Hotel and Conference Center. I had a fantastic view. I loved it. That's what I woke up to every morning.
Clenise, did you go to the varsity while you were there?
No, Charlie. Well, actually, I take that back. We did. You'll see it in the reception. There was one. Okay, go ahead. So we did. We went to Gordon. This is our bar that we went to. Gordon Biersch Brewery Restaurant. This was actually the opening reception that they had for us. And you see this, the cutout of this gentleman. He was considered he's considered one of Rotary International's gurus. So you'll see him again. And he actually spoke with us via conference call. Joe, like I said, was a celebrity. So they had him come up and actually even comment during the reception. So the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, it was a packed agenda. And during those days, we did a lot of discussion. This is basically what the table looked like. You can see Joe was right behind me. We had to do different projects that were interactive. One was introducing yourself, but as a group, you had to find a way that you could introduce yourself in a fun way. We had several topics of discussion. You can go to the next slide. And we did, with every one of those things, there were different ways that we talked about that. Remember I talked about the inquiry piece. So there were different ways that we were looking at these topics of discussion. You had to describe your club. What is your club like? Tell your Rotary story. Why did you stay? You know, a lot of people join Rotary, but at the same time, a lot of people, after they join, they're not as engaged, and so it's easy for them to leave. What are some of the top problems in Rotary? What about branding and awareness? Or do people even know about Rotary? If you mention Rotary to certain generations, do they understand what Rotary is? Diversity, how important is that? I mean, we live in a very diverse world, and Rotary needs to actually make sure that it represents that. Cost, that was a big conversation, which was interesting. But one of the barriers that a lot of young professionals said that they felt was that it is a significant cost to actually join Rotary. So you're paying for, in some cases, their dues were very, very expensive. Then they were paying for their meal every time. So what are there ways that we can be creative and at the same time sensitive to that particular group? Traditional thinking versus being open to change, and how does that work? And stagnant membership and retention. So this was so cool. I don't know if you saw on the first picture that I showed you, where we were all sitting around at a table. On every table they had these types of things, so that throughout the entire conference, instead of if you were just kind of wanted to be thinking or doodling or whatever, you could actually be very creative. So these are some of the creations that people made throughout the conference, which I thought I thought we should have had a little presentation at the end where the judges. It was very fascinating to see what people did. Certain tables did not touch their Play-Doh and any of the toys, but others did. But this is just a sample of some of the creations. All right, so throughout those 2 days, as I told you, we definitely did a lot of conversation about those topics. There were some cool things that they did too. So Mitty Chang is from the E-Club of Silicon Valley, and then Evan remember the gentleman I showed you all, well, the cutout I showed you, this is him in real life. He's actually from Australia. They actually were Skyped in and talked about the fact of what their young professional experience has been in Rotary and how they have been so instrumental on the Rotary International level of moving that conversation along when we talk about being accepting and engaging young professionals. They did a broadcast to Zone 34 training, and 3 or 4 of the participants actually ended up talking to Zone 34, telling them via Skype, this is what we're learning, this is what we're getting from this experience, and we wanted you to understand that, which was very cool. This was the Rotary International Director, Robert Hall. He was the one who actually was the host and the overseer of this particular Young Professional Summit. If they do this again, this person will be Joe. Joe will be this person if they decide to host this again. And this is just some of the, I just wanted to take some pictures so you all can get a flavor of what some of the individuals look like that were there. They had a lot of different groups, a lot of discussion going on. All right, so these were, I mean, the thing that's so amazing is that even though you're together for only 2 days, you definitely get to know some great people. So these were some of the folks that I met. Joe's just Joe, so I had to have one of the things that was really cool is that a few of us got together because Chihuly in the Garden was actually happening when we were there in Atlanta, Georgia, which is amazing. Chihuly is this amazing glass artist. And so, I mean, you don't always get to actually see his collections and experience that. So this was so cool, and it was wonderful. The thing I just could not get over is this lady is nothing but plants. Isn't that amazing? In her hand, and then this is water. This is a waterfall. Oh, it was fantastic. It was really hot, but it was beautiful. And then they had this was what it looked like in front of her. But, oh, that was just so incredible. You can go to the next slide. And then these are some of the other pieces that we saw. That was just great. And those are the ladies that we went with, that I went with, which was it was a wonderful experience. So this is the entire class. And I just had to point out, that's why I wish Joe was here. I'm way in the back. You can barely see me. Like, I'm a little, just like a little rectangle back there. But look at Joe. It's front and center at the YP moment. Okay, yes, Joe. This is actually on our District 7600 Facebook page. And this got a lot of comments. People really love Joe in that picture. But that was great. I love that. So what are my top 5 takeaways from this experience? One of the things that I really thought about looking at this or participating in this is that really revolution is born from tradition. So it's important to understand the tradition because then you understand your foundation. You understand what the focus was, what was the origin, why was this even the case in the first place. But then, as a result of that, it gives you the freedom to think differently, to think bigger, to take that to the next level, to create a revolution that is actually birth and tradition. The second thing that stood out to me is that there's beauty in there's a beauty in bridges. So we have 2 generations, and if we wanted to actually not be a successful organization, we could create a chasm between the 2. And they would never meet. But when there's a bridge that brings the 2 generations together, all of a sudden now you have a very powerful, influential organization that can do great things. That next generation can take the baton and move forward and take that whole dream, this whole idea, to a whole nother level. And I mean, that's what really happened with Paul Harris. This is one man. Today we're 1.2 million people in the world. Who would have thought that? The next thing that I thought was interesting, I really loved this person, and I didn't have a picture of him, but Dr. Gary S. May was one of their keynote speakers. He's the Dean of Georgia Tech's College of Engineering, and he was talking to us about innovation, the why behind some of the things that we do, and thinking futuristically. And I thought that really, if you think about it, innovation changes people's lives. It takes somebody from being here and takes you to this whole new plane, this whole new experience that's really quite incredible. And one of the stories that he told was about how they supported a student that came through the Georgia Tech's College of Engineering. Actually, Robert Hall went to Georgia Tech. And Robert Hall was very instrumental in this story. This young guy came to school And he was a good student, but he didn't have a lot of the other things that you would need. And then somebody found out about that, and they said, you know, he's a great student, but it's no wonder he's not really concentrating a lot. He's got some other issues going on at home. So Robert Hall actually reached out to his Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club started supporting this gentleman. And this guy now is amazing. He's out in California doing some amazing things. He was talking about the fact that, you know, the ideas that he got by working with or being a part of the College of Engineering, being so innovative, has really set him up to be very successful in life. And innovation of any type changes people's lives. I mean, the reason why we are able to be a part of this polio story is because somebody was innovative enough to create a polio vaccination. And now we can take that and we are literally changing people's lives. We're going to change an entire generation. There's an entire generation that we are a part of changing that is so incredible. The next is that lessons learned are only valuable if one is willing to hear the lesson and apply the lesson. This was really funny. We were at a Young Professional Summit, and so you would think that young professionals would be very open to new ideas, right? And wow, let's take that. Let's listen to the lessons learned. I was telling Dave Rosenthal about this, that during one of the sessions, I mentioned, they were talking about marketing, how do we do this branding and awareness, and I was telling them how successful our club is and how we actually, you know, Periscope our meetings, we Facebook Live. People were like, and this was younger professional. Periscope, what is Periscope? And I said, well, this is what it is. It's Facebook. Okay. And the lady who was actually taking the notes for that particular session would not put my idea on the board. She would not put that idea up there. It was just kind of like, and the guy beside me, he and I just chuckled because we thought, isn't that hilarious? Are we not here about innovation and change and all of that? And I said, oh, you forgot. Oh no, that just doesn't really apply for this right now. And we laughed at that because we said, isn't that hilarious? Because now you're doing what you claim, quote, the other generation does to you. But it was just ironic. We thought that was funny. And then the other thing that really stood out to me was 1 + 1 + 1 equals power and influence. When I did my video presentation, the name of it was called The Power of One. And it was talking about how when we join together, how powerful and how influential we are. Being there with those 100 people, you recognize that there are people all over the country that are doing what we do here, but doing it in a way that fits their culture, fits where they are. But at the same time, that collaboration, that collective power that we all have together is very, very amazing. I mean, it is why we can sit here today and somebody else can be sitting over and around the world actually doing something similar, but yes, we're all under this Rotary umbrella. So that equals power and influence. Now I can count, so I do know number 6, brilliance, power, and influence is number 6. But I just wanted to do a sidebar because one of the things that really stood out to me, and I am a big proponent of this, is that brilliance, power, and influence are ageless. There is no reason to discard someone's brilliance, their power, and their influence because of their age, whether it's because they're younger or whether it's because they're more mature. Honestly, when we collaborate, when we bring it all together, it is quite incredible the things that we can do in the world. So that brings us back to the quote where we started. This is a changing world. We must be prepared to change with it. The story of Rotary will have to be written again and again. You can go to the next slide, I think. We are all a part of that, and I want to encourage the young professionals in this room. You know, if you're a leader committed to Rotary, if you're passionate about taking action, eager to connect with others who feel the same way, you want to create positive change that in your club, your district, your community, you lead by doing, regardless of what Rotary title you hold, you inspire and mobilize others. You think that a problem is really an opportunity in disguise, and you want to help other people see the world that way, then if you have an opportunity, if we do this again, I really want to encourage you to reach out and apply for that because your voice is so important. All of our voices are important to making this Rotary story happen. That's it.